Hello fellow Tolkien fans, we have combed through some of the trailers and we've pulled out some stills for you which give us a clue as to where the show is going. So we're going to start here with Galadriel and Muriel. So in this shot you can see Galadriel and Muriel and a Palantir under a blanket or a cloth. And what I think we're going to see unravelling is this friendship and allegiance between Galadriel and Numenor despite the prickly start, and Numenor is going to support Galadriel in going to the Southlands and attacking Sauron. In the trailer where I got this shot here, Halbrand says, "When will you stop fighting?" or something to that effect, and Galadriel answers with, "There's a tempest in me." And here you see Galadriel is appealing to a group of people, Elendil is there in support of her. That's how it looks to me anyway. And here we see Muriel standing opposite Ar-Pharazôn. There's a clear contention here, he's not standing next to her. So there is a schism about to happen in Numenor with people who want to aid Galadriel and Muriel and Elendil, and those who want to have nothing to do with what's going on in Middle-earth, nothing to do with the elves, and they will ally themselves with Ar-Pharazôn. Here we see Ar-Pharazôn geeing up a people, and it's clear that there is some kind of strife and fracture happening in Numenor. And as this schism, this fracture is happening, the white tree's petals begin to fall and be blown about. Here we see one to the right of Galadriel's left eye in this chamber in Numenor, and all around Elendil something meaningful is happening here, some prophecy is being fulfilled as the people of Numenor go under this turmoil of schism and breaking of allegiance between themselves. And we see here in this shot Halbrand and a group of Numenorian soldiers. Halbrand's decked out in armour, he's on a horse, the soldiers are dressed in some very nice ivory looking kind of fish scale armour. And here we see Elendil's daughter, can't remember her name right now, she's a made up character, and she looks really sad. Clearly she's saying goodbye to her father or brother, and there's people behind her in a line with flowers saying, you know, good luck in war, all the best. And here we see Galadriel in some really amazing armour with massive elbow pads getting onto this boat with Numenorian soldiers. She's obviously about to go over to Middle-earth, as we've mentioned. Back to Middle-earth now, the Southlands. Here we see this character who looks like an elf, Adar clearly, and he's got a group of orcs in front of him, and they all look to be looking to Adar as their leader. Now, there were theories initially about Halbrand being Sauron, there were theories about Meteor Man being Sauron. I think it's pretty obvious that this Adar character is actually Sauron. The orcs worship him, they call him father. And if you know the lore, it will just make absolute sense to you. We'll get to that as we go along. We'll come back to Adar and the orcs. But here we have Arondir to the left of the screen here. And I think her name's Hannah. I might have that completely wrong. In the middle of the screen. Again, made up character, as is Arondir, but cooler name, I don't know. And he's clearly escaped from the orcs. She's ushering the people in the Southlands. Follow me. Will you fight with me? Will you stand? And then you have them being chased by orcs in this scene here. Theo's running away from orcs. And Arondir, again, it's obvious he's escaped. He's now protecting the people as they flee from orcs. So clearly, I don't know, that village where they were addressing the people has been attacked, or they've just tried to flee from the village, but on the way get ambushed, and they're defending themselves. In another trailer, we see this huge line of orcs here. This is, well, I imagine it's orcs. It's beings carrying torches at night. Sounds like orcs to me. And then you see orcs on this causeway, kind of reminiscent of that Helm's Deep moment in Two Towers, the causeway. I believe this is the causeway to the tower that we saw in episode 1, that watchtower where Arondir and his companions had their base. And you see in this next shot here, Arondir in the trailer is dropping down from the tower to attack these orcs on the causeway. So there's the tower. I think that's the causeway where the orcs are coming along there. And either Arondir is dropping from that smaller gateway tower there at the left-hand side of the causeway. I mean, he could be dropping from the tall one, but potentially the gate is more likely. What I think is being implied here is that the humans are being chased out of the Southlands, and Adar is trying to take Mordor, the Southlands, turn it into Mordor and use it as his fortress. And this is another reason why I believe that Adar is Sauron. Snap back to Galadriel. She's riding on a horse. She loves that. And she's riding through some beautiful grasslands with a amazing looking army of Numenorian soldiers. Now here we get them again in another trailer riding into a village. They shoot orcs. So here we're seeing a battle between Numenorians and orcs, which I deem to be in the Southlands. Again, it's clear it's Numenorian soldiers by the armour there. And we see Halbrand riding through a forest here. I don't know if again they're just chasing down remaining orcs or if he gets captured in this scene. Who knows? Interesting. Maybe the village that they attack as well in those stills we saw a second ago gets decimated by maybe a Balrog because there's fire everywhere. I'm not sure on that. That's just a big old theory so far. So before we get on to Harfoots and Dwarves, a little snippet of the lore as to why I believe Adar is Sauron, not Meteor Man nor Halbrand. If you know the lore and the canon of the Silmarillion, the Unfinished Tales, etc., you know that Sauron amasses an army and he gets captured at Umbar by Ar-Pharazôn. So Sauron is clearly in Middle-earth. And who do we see here amassing an army? It's Adar. So it would appear to me that Adar is going to be the one who is going to try and establish Mordor, and then maybe Ar-Pharazôn will come to the aid of Galadriel and Elendil after all, capture Adar, who looks to me like a slightly handsome dark elf, and bring him back to Numenor in maybe season 2. And that's when the downfall will begin. The rings will maybe get forged in season 3, and on and on and on. I really can't see Meteor Man amassing an army and getting captured by Ar-Pharazôn or Elendil and Galadriel and taken back to Numenor. Can't see that happening. And I can't see Halbrand being captured but then taking over the leadership of the orcs. I can see Halbrand being captured and tortured, but not taking over the leadership from this Adar character. There are fewer clues as to what's about to happen with the Harfoots, but I believe it's clear from this scene in one of the trailers that as Nori is giving Meteor Man the apple here, and he's taking it, and he's walking away, that actually they're separating, they're parting ways, and they're going to allegedly go off in different directions as the caravan goes in a way that he doesn't want to go. Maybe it's going in the opposite direction to the stars he wants to follow. But then we see Meteor Man surrounded by wolves, which we haven't seen yet in the show, so it is going to happen. Nori we can see in the middle of the shot to the right of that central wolf's head. Here we see Nori more clearly, and then Meteor Man hits the ground, and behind Meteor Man to the right there you can see Nori, but if you go a little further to the right you can see her friend as well. So the two of them have followed Meteor Man into what looks like a bit of an iffy area. So Nori and her friend are going to get separated from the caravan following Meteor Man. He hits the ground. Who knows what he's doing there? So that's all I've got with the Harfoots. The separation of Nori and her friend from her clan. Now, finally, just one little clue as to what's going to happen with Elrond and Durin. There isn't a great deal in the trailers that you can decipher what's happening next from, but here there is clearly a shot with Durin on the left-hand side of this table, left-hand end of this table, sat opposite the High King Gil-galad of the Elves, who's on the right-hand head of the table, and they are clearly eating together, which is a sign of friendship, allegiance, and it's obvious that Durin is going to help with the forging of the tower that Celebrimbor wants to build, which will eventually go on to forge the Rings of Power. So, what do you think? I'd love to hear how you think things are going to pan out with Galadriel and Halbrand and the Numenorians. Do you think Adar is Sauron? Do you think Halbrand is Sauron? Do you think Halbrand is going to be the Witch King? Do you think that Adar will beat back the attack of the Numenorians and Galadriel on Halbrand because his force will be so much bigger than what they anticipate and Ar-Pharazôn will come and help and then capture Sauron, take him back to Numenor? Or do you think that Amazon are going to do things a little bit differently from the lore? Who on earth is Meteor Man? Is he Gandalf? Is he a blue wizard? And what part do you believe Meteor Man and the Harfoots are going to play in the wider story of what's going on in Middle-earth? Let's face it, they are going to be involved in the grander themes in this somehow, maybe even in minor ways, which we don't know, but I think otherwise there isn't much purpose in their being in the show. Just in case you were wondering, I have read the Silmarillion, I have read the Unfinished Tales, I've read the Book of Lost Tales Part 1 and Part 2. I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan, read the trilogy many times, in English and in Deutsch as well. I've always loved Tolkien, Middle-earth, his universe. I would say to you Rings of Power haters, I would say, is it just your nostalgia from your experience of Lord of the Rings as a youngster or a teen or a young adult that is colouring your experience of Rings of Power now? Are you holding it up to this nostalgic standard that it will never meet? Or are you going into Rings of Power open-minded I think that the latter is a much better way of approaching the show. It's a different show. It's being produced by different people. It's a different interpretation. I, for one, am just very excited about seeing the Middle-earth universe again. I think it's amazing. They might not have portrayed Galadriel in the way that many of us are happy with, but hopefully she will come about. I'm looking forward to seeing that transformation. I love the Elrond character. I love the dwarves, what they've done with that. I love the score for Numenor, score for dwarves. All good, all great. And I am interested in seeing how Amazon flesh out some more of Tolkien's universe. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you liked or learned anything from this video, please throw me a sub or a like or something like that. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to reading all the comments. Have a great day, and we'll see you in the next one.